All right. All right, let's get me going with an audio check. How is sound? Give me some feedback, y'all. And let me get a video. How's the feed? How's everybody doing out there? Let's make sure that we are set here. I'll give the group some time to settle in. I've already got 5 in here. That's great. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab my tablet and I'll be right back. I just want to be able to keep track of the live stream, live chat. So give me a second. All right, guys, I'm ready if you are. All right, so last time, give me an audio check. Let me know how sound is. Got the mic hooked up. We should be good there. Let me know how the visual side is. Let me know if the stream is feeding well. If there are any issues, we'll try to figure it out here. All right, go ahead and as you guys are piling in, say a formal hello, say something. Let me know that you are here. All right, Landon, good to see you, buddy. Glad you could be here. Arcelia, thank you for joining us as well. Dank Hank, what up? What's up with the water packet? Come on, man, you didn't even turn it in. Come on. Let's see here. Who else we got? We got Gonzi in the house. Welcome back, buddy. We have Arcelia, thank you for letting me know. Sound is good. Landon, appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. Akiva, welcome back. It's been a while, man. Glad you could make it. Christian, glad you could make it. It's been a while, absolutely. Glad to have you back. Tito, happy Friday to you. Glad you could be here. I didn't ask. Come on, Hank. All right, turn it in Monday, man. Stop playing games. All right, loud and clear on this side. All right, good. Yeah, you can turn it in Monday, man. Believe that? I got my students not turning in assignments. I'm going to put you on blast right now. You brought it up. I wasn't going to say anything, but you brought it up. So you didn't turn it in, man. Nobody turned it in. I said it was due today. So, whatever. All right. Anyway. All right, so let's talk tech. Let's talk networks. Anything smartphone related, anything service related, anything from the big four, whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm game. In terms of what happened this week, we had the big Apple announcement. We got some new iPhones that we could choose from. If you would like to go ahead and trade in a kidney or maybe your liver, you can get the iPhone XS Max coming in at $1099 for the base model, the entry level. You upgrade the storage, you're looking at about $1250 and $1450 for those. So, anyways, we've got 3 new iPhones, 2 that are available starting for pre-order this week. I think they're shipping them out pretty soon, within a week or 2. We have the budget iPhone coming in at $749, the iPhone XR. I don't know why they called it that. I have no idea. But I am hearing that this could be a big-time seller. A lot of people want to buy it. It's going to be one of their best sellers ever. So we'll have to see. I don't know if you guys are interested in those, so we'll talk iPhones. We could definitely talk about some other upcoming hardware too. The Google phones are expected in about a month. The announcement is October 9th, so that's up and coming. Also, we got some network news. Verizon has made it official. They're going to go ahead and start their home 5G residential services October 1st. Now, you are limited to a certain, regional area. So, Sacramento's on that list. Los Angeles, California's on there. What are the other ones? Houston, Indianapolis, I think. So, just those four regions. So, if you're there, it is available to you. You can sign up for it. If you have Verizon Wireless, they're cutting you a deal. They're going to offer it to you for $50. If you're not a Verizon Wireless customer, they'll offer it to you for $70. They're throwing an Apple 4K TV. They're throwing in a subscription to YouTube TV. I think they're also throwing in a Google Chromecast. So there's some stuff there. There's also some merger news that happened. I didn't make a video on it. I didn't really cover it, but we do kind of have this extension that's been granted for the FCC to currently investigate the merger. Now this, in terms of what it means, it doesn't mean too much. It means that they may want to potentially extend the review process. It doesn't necessarily mean they will. It just means that they've reserved the right to do so. They could, okay and approve the merger early if they wanted to. It's just they bought themselves some wiggle room, I think. So I'll talk more about it later, but that's definitely out there. What else could we talk about? Anything from T-Mobile, anything from AT&T, anything from Sprint. Whatever you guys want to talk about, hardware, networks, technology, whatever, anything, Ask Me Anything, AMA, whatever you guys want to do. So I'm fair game. We've got 8 or 9 people in the chat, so we're just starting to get going. I did set it for 4:15. My goal is to give you guys at least an hour, maybe up to about an hour and a half, but that's going to be it for today. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to catch up in the live chat. I'm sure you guys got a lot to say, a lot to talk about. So, let's see here. Arcelia says, Sprint merger may not happen. All right, so with respect to what's developing with the merger, there has been a couple things that have happened. Number one is, T-Mobile's been talking a big game. T-Mobile obviously feels very strongly about the merger happening. They've got all their eggs in that basket. They're not really concerned. They've filed some formal, paperwork with the FCC of what they want to do with Sprint as their acquisition or their merger. So that's got T-Mobile in a good place. They feel good about that. Now, with respect to the merger as it pertains to the FCC has gone ahead and created this extension, which means that they could add some additional time to want to review the merger. It doesn't mean they're going to take that time for sure. It means that they have kind of set aside that time. If they want to, they could take longer to process the merger and kind of break down any other angles, things they have to consider, whether it's interviewing businesses, looking at regulatory processes, maybe trying to derive some concessions and deals that they want to do. So that's what's going on there. Does not mean that they're going to take longer. It doesn't guarantee that, but most likelihood they will take a little bit longer. Now, the merger was set to probably happen sometime in the middle of the year 2019. Maybe this means that it could extend into the fall. But trust me, the merger is going to happen. I mean, it's just so likely. I can't say it can't fall through, but it's so unlikely that it falls through. And it's going to happen before the end of the year, for sure. So, if you have your hopes on the merger not happening, I think that ship has sailed. I think it's pretty set in place. Now, there are going to be some concessions. I think that's what this is about. If there's going to be an extension, the extension is to figure out what they're going to do about certain assets, what T-Mobile is going to have to give up or what Sprint is going to have to give up to make this happen. So, in all honesty, I don't think this stops it. It may delay it potentially, but only as it pertains to some concessions, I feel. Christian chiming in on the new iPhones. He says they're all too much for me. So I'm just talking entry-level pricing. The iPhone XS is coming in at $1,000. The XS Max is coming in at $1,100. And even the XR is coming in at $749. And that's entry level. So we're talking 64 gigs of storage. Now, $749 for an iPhone is not a bad price. But that particular model, the XR, is, a little bit less feature rich than, say, the XS and the XS Max. So the XR is going to have an LCD panel. It's not going to be OLED. The 10R is going to have one less gig of RAM. The 10R is going to be a single back camera. Um, it has its shortcomings. It's going to offer some colors, some choices there, but it is not as capable as the other two. So they have made it a little bit less. There's been some cost savings built into it. So if you want a new iPhone, you could do it. They all pretty much look the same. The bezels on the 10R are a little bit bigger. So if you can spend the $749 and you could stomach that, then that's an option. $1,000 for a smartphone is a lot of money. I don't care what anybody says. Unless you're rich and you won't feel it, that is a lot of dough. Go ahead and do the math. Even if you finance the phone, 24 installments, $1,000. Go ahead and do that division. It's going to be a pricey phone. If you have an unlimited data plan for a line, a single line, and you purchase the iPhone XS, your phone bill itself is going to be probably about 75 to 80 bucks. Go ahead and throw in about $40, $44 a month or something like that for the phone. That's not even considering Apple Care. It's not even considering taxes, which you have to pay up front. That's an additional $70 to $80 right there. So they're expensive. And if you're going to get an upgraded storage option, go ahead and throw some extra money in there, because the extra storage is going to cost you. It's going to set you back. Apple will never do removable storage in the form of micro SDs or mini SD cards. So, if you're going to get the 512 gigs storage, you're going to be paying $1449 for the XS Max. So yeah, definitely not cheap. Let's see here. Grant's in the house. Welcome, buddy. Glad you can make it. Thank you for stopping by. Who else we got here? All right. Akiva says, I'm taking a push this year, and I'm scared. What are you talking about? Like a AP US history? Is that what a push means for you? Is that what you're talking about? What is going on in the live stream? Gonzi, what you talking about? Landon says 600 megahertz live in Puerto Rico, but not in my area. Yeah, Landon, that's good news. I did catch wind of that. T-Mobile has been expanding Band 71 support all over the U.S. That's been their big initiative, their extended range LTE. It has made its way to parts of Puerto Rico. I would expect it to continue to grow outside of that area. Hopefully by the end of 2020, most of Puerto Rico will be covered with that coverage. So you just got to hang in tight, buddy. I know it seems like a long ways away, but we should see some more coverage within the next 1.5 to 2 years, from what I understand. Tito says, honestly, the new iPhone pricing, I think iPhones are stupid. I hate this. I hate how the Apple ecosystem is just too restrictive. So, Tito, a lot of people like the fact that Apple is a closed ecosystem and keeps everything simplified. It doesn't, doesn't convolute anything. The app support is really good. They do cover all bases. The devices are secure. The operating system is dependable. There's a reason to like Apple. Pricing is not going to be one of them. Most people will tell you, even those that do buy their products, they will say that Apple products are expensive. People enjoy them. I get it, but they're not cheap. That's for sure. They are a premium product from all aspects. iPads are pricey. The MacBooks are pricey, whether you get an Air or a Pro. Macs are expensive. Computers, the iPhones are expensive. They're a premium brand. They've marketed themselves that way for a long time. They've always wanted to be profitable. They're one of the most profitable countries in the world. They're a $1 trillion company, so they're doing something right when it comes to marketing. They're doing something right when it comes to making profit, but they're not for everybody. That's for sure. You can definitely do better in terms of value with a different branded phone, but the iPhone has its constituents. People really like it, and they're going to stick with it because it's what they know and it's what they like. What up, Mike? What up, Delaney? Glad you could be here. Thank you guys for stopping by. Jamal, what up, man? D-Gaff's in the house. Glad you could be here. Kiva, I teach biology and environmental science. So, no history here. I did take U.S. history, though. Oh, okay, so Landon says it's only 10 megahertz. Why not 20 megahertz? Yeah, if they had 20 megahertz, it'd be much greater in capacity. Speeds would be better. The coverage would be awesome. But, I mean, 10 megahertz isn't bad to start. That could change. We could expect to see more in the future. They may allocate more spectrum there. You know what, Arcelia? You are so correct. I've always said if Apple was charging $1,500 for an iPhone, if they were charging 2,000, as long as people are willing to pay it, they will market it in that segment. They're always going to want to charge as much as they possibly can without affecting sales. As of right now, Apple gets a premium price because people are willing to pay it. If people weren't willing to pay it, those phones wouldn't be flying out of their stores. So I think as long as people are willing to pay those prices, Apple will continue to stay in that price range. Now, next year, when we have a revamped iPhone, this is kind of one of those TikTok upgrades. So the 10s and the 10s Max look exactly like the 10 from last year. So if they were to redesign, if they were to change, add some features, try to get more money out of it, I think if they were to raise the 10s's successor's price from 1,000 to say 1049, I think they'll get it. I don't think anybody will blink. I mean, who's going to say anything? You're willing to pay $1,000 for a phone. Why shouldn't you be willing to pay 1049 or 1099 even? So I would say next year even expect a price bump. As long as people are willing to pay the price and those phones are selling, they will keep on marketing at above $1,000. The fact that they actually did a 749 model surprised me. I didn't think they would at the beginning of the year when people were speculating about it, but the fact that they were able to make the LCD liquid retina display at a very competitive price, they were actually able to get that technology down in terms of its cost. Continue to use good hardware, skimp out in a couple places and make it more affordable. I was kind of happy to see that and actually pleasantly surprised, but if you don't remember, the iPhone 6, the iPhone 6s, and even the iPhone 7 all sold at $649 for the entry level. So it wasn't that long ago we were getting the standard iPhone for $649. It wasn't always $999. Akiva, you want advice for a push? Shouldn't have took it, man. AP US history sounds like a lot of reading, and it sounds like a tough test. Good luck with that, my friend. Darian says, will T-Mobile Band 71 make your phone work in buildings like hospitals, doctors' offices, without using Wi-Fi calling like Verizon and AT&T? They don't use Wi-Fi calling. So Band 71 is supposed to help with that. Band 71 is supposed to be able to penetrate through walls, doors, buildings and lower levels. It's supposed to help with all of that stuff. So I've been hearing reports from people that have seen Band 71 usage on their phones, and they're saying that it's working pretty well. A lot of places where people had spotty coverage have now improved. The signal strength has improved. They're holding calls. They're getting LTE in places they never used to. So that's all encouraging. So I think in terms of doctor offices and buildings and stuff like that, it should be helping. I guess you'd have to test it in your area to see if it is working. Kiva says the Essential phone in new condition is now on Amazon for only $310. That's a great deal. You can basically get a top-of-the-line Android device with a great processor, Snapdragon 835. The phone is a year old, obviously, but it's ahead of its time in design. It's pretty much bezel-less. It's got the little teardrop notch at the top for the camera and all the sensors and all that. It is running an LCD panel, but it's a great stock Android build. It's got a pretty good camera if you use the Google API. It's a good phone. If you're willing to take those savings and try that phone, it is a good deal. I actually got it on flash sale on Amazon for $279 a few weeks ago, but $310 is still a really good price. M. Kelleher, thank you for chiming in, man. Glad you could be here. Thank you for joining us. As well, Mark Garcia, I'm excellent, man. Thank you for asking. I hope you're doing well yourself. Landon says, they've got a big chunk here in Puerto Rico. I heard they can turn on carrier aggregation soon, so maybe they will do that so they can get up to 20 megahertz. That would be great. If you could run multiple carriers, that would help with the capacity. I know you've been saying that speeds have been really bad during peak times during the day, so I know for a fact that you guys would be glad to have that to help you guys with the capacity there. Landon says, iPhones finally catch up on the radio side. So the hardware is caught up to the radio side. Let's see if they're ready to go out from the software end. We haven't had the phones yet, but as long as the carriers are ready to support the phone and the software side is taken care of, we should be good. We should see improved speeds right away. So if you're running, say, an iPhone 10 or an iPhone 8 or 8 Plus, the iPhone 10s and 10s Max are going to be much, much faster in terms of LTE. Now, as soon as our networks start to catch up, then it'll be even better. So if you buy the new iPhone 10s or 10s Max or 10R, you should be covered from the radio side when it comes to speeds and capacity, even for the next couple of years. Now, it's not going to be 5G ready for sure, but yeah, it should be pretty fast. At least you have the ability to get up to gigabit LTE. I mean, hell, even if you got up to 200 or 300 megabits per second, that would be awesome on the download. All right, Christian says, I'm kind of curious to see what T-Mobile's TV deals are going to be like once they offer them. We don't have many choices when it comes to good TV service here in the PO Dunktown of Lubbock, Texas. All right, so I think what T-Mobile's doing with Layer 3 TV is they're kind of like feeling it out right now. They kind of have like a soft launch service kind of going on. They're going to be able to support Layer 3 TV, from like a regional standpoint. They're not going to offer it in every market. It's not going to be available to everybody. But once they get 5G going, they'll open it up to a lot of customers. They'll be able to support them. So once they get their 5G residential taken care of and that's going, you're going to see Layer 3 TV really expand. And I think that's when they'll push and promote it in terms of pricing. Right now, Layer 3 TV is kind of pricey. I did receive an email from Pete, one of the subscribers here, one of my patrons. Thank you, Pete, for that information. I'm going to go ahead and do a video on it. So I'll put that to Patreon. I might share it here with the YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that if you want to get some information on Layer 3 TV, what the promotions are going to be, what the cost is going to be, and stuff like that. M. Keller says, I can't believe these stupid things cost so much. I'll never go over 400. $400 is a good price to spend on a smartphone. You can get a lot of value. You don't have to pay more than $400 to get a good phone. $400 can get you into a brand new high-end flagship type device from many different companies that support Android as an operating system. And actually, if you're willing to pay $449, I think you can get an iPhone 7. So it'll still keep you with Apple. It'll still keep you in the ecosystem, just with a phone that's about 2 years old. So the hardware is a little bit dated, but the software is going to run great, and they're going to support the phone for another 2 or 3 years maybe. So you could still stay with Apple and get a new phone, but it's going to be a little bit dated, a little bit long in the tooth. But yeah, $400 can get you a great phone nowadays. I would probably look more towards like, I don't know, maybe a second gen Pixel or Pixel XL puts you right around $400. That's probably the best way to go for Android. Where else? Where were we at here? DGAF says, hell, not at my job. They got it like Fort Knox in here. All right, so yeah. So some buildings are just impossible to penetrate for a signal. They're just too sturdy. The build materials are too difficult to get through. So it may just come a time where, you've got to run Wi-Fi calling. You've got to be connected to a Wi-Fi network. And of course, if there's no Wi-Fi, well, better find a window or something, because you're not going to be able to get a signal there. Darian says, when will Band 71 come to Memphis? I have no idea. You'll have to check the T-Mobile website, see if maybe they'll list it there. They've got a list of all the cities and regions and markets that have Band 71. I don't know if they do any projected cities, like coming soon type of cities, but you're more than welcome to check it out. T-Mobile's got the website. They've got a couple different resources there to look into. Arcelia says, do you think that people would ever stop paying for iPhones? And if so, what would happen? Looks to me, Arcelia, that people will be willing to pay whatever it takes to get iPhones. It's kind of interesting to see that Apple has continued to raise their prices with pretty much each generation, dating back to the iPhone 5. I think actually the iPhone 4S, it's been strategically increasing generation to generation. So, but they've done so incrementally. Now, the biggest jump was going from the 8 to the 10. That price difference was huge. It was like, previously it was $649, and then we saw the spike up to $1,000. that is pretty substantial. I don't see how the iPhone 10 was worth that much more than an iPhone 8. So I think that was a little bit steep. Now, personally, we saw how many people were willing to pay $1,000 for the 10. People are still going to be willing to pay for the 10s $1,000. You know, they'll bump it up next year. I expect it to maybe go up to 1049 or 1099. Maybe the larger one go up to 1149, 1199. I mean, who's to say that they won't try it? They'll test the waters. And if you're willing to pay 1,000, you should be willing to pay 1,100. You should be willing to pay 1,200. It'll go up and up. Who knows? Maybe in 5 years, iPhones will be over $1,500 for the entry level. I think it's absurd, but they're selling, right? So if you can get it, get it. Nintendo 504, what's up, buddy? Glad you could be here. I haven't seen you in a while. Glad you could make it. Let's see here. Mark Garcia says, how many here have decided to keep their kidneys? So for those of you that don't know, I put this poll onto the Patreon. So shout out to the Patreon page if you guys are interested. sneedmobiletech at Patreon. I've got some great videos on there, some awesome content. It's a little bit more interactive. I post polls. I get feedback from my patrons, stuff like that. This is going to be a busy weekend. I'm going to upload a couple videos during the week as well as over the weekend for Patreon, so my patrons have a lot to look forward to. The poll that's on there now that Mark is talking about is I gave a couple of options in the poll to see, which phone you'd be getting from the new iPhones. So, you had your choices. You got the 10s, you got the 10s Max, you got the 10R, and then option number 4 was, no thanks, I won't get any of those phones. I'll keep my kidneys. So I've been teasing that it's so expensive you have to sell your organs to get one. So yeah, it was a good laugh, and I thought people would get a kick out of that. But I know I'm exaggerating a bit, but I'm teasing Apple, but it's just so expensive. Some of these models are absurd. If you wanted to get the 10s Max with the maximum storage, you're spending almost $1,500, right? And throwing a couple $100 for Apple Care, I mean, and with tax, you're going to be walking out of there spending $1,600, $1,700. It's just absolutely crazy. All right, let's see here. Dank Hank says, my sister wants the Max. I hope your sister has a good paying job, because it's going to cost. Or, rich parents. Let's see here. Akiva says, why don't you do the YouTube sponsor program for people to sponsor you and become a supporter in addition to Patreon? I'll probably look into that. I'm not sure what it entails, but I'd be into some sponsorships. But I'd have to make sure that the sponsorships do not intervene with the mission of the channel. My mission here on the channel is to analyze, report, question, judge, from a consumer perspective. So if my sponsorships ended up being, contradictory to my mission, I couldn't do the sponsorship. So it would have to be anything other than smartphone technology and networks. Anything other than that, I'd be down with the sponsorship. So yeah, I'd definitely be game to consider that. M. Keller says, I really don't like eye trash. I could tell you don't like them. Pretty obvious. Arcelia says $2,000 for the iPhone 13. Go ahead and make those predictions. We'll revisit this in in 2 years and see what happens, if that would be the iPhone 13, or maybe it would be in 5 or 6 years. M. Keller has got the S8, plans on keeping it for 4 years. Now, most people don't keep their phones for that long, so most people are looking to upgrade after 2 years. Some people upgrade every year. Some people upgrade every 3. I'd say 4 years is not typical. That's a very conservative upgrade cycle for most. I'd say most people are around that 2 to 3 year range. So you guys let me know in the live chat, like, how long do you plan on keeping the phone you have? How long have you had it? I'm the type of person that usually upgrades every year because I want to get something newer to be up with the times, but I'm actually hanging on to my Pixel 2 XL. I think I'm going to hang on to it for another year. So this will be a first time in a long time where I'm having a phone for longer than 1 year. I mean, I've had phones for 6 months and sold them and got some different, got some newer. So I don't know. I've been all over the place lately. But this is, I had the Pixel, the original Pixel, for like a little bit over a year. So that was one of my longer lasting devices in the last few years. DGAF says, why did they stop the merger? What gives? Actually, DGAF, I think that's a misnomer. They did not stop the merger at all. What they did with the merger, the FCC has, pretty much gotten to the point where they feel like there's enough concern about the merger that it may require some additional time to do some homework, to do a little research, to do some interviewing, to do some analyzing. They're just doing their job. They're just doing their due diligence. Now, the FCC has been bad at a lot of things, but if they take a little extra time, so be it. That's not a big deal, nor does it mean that the merger is going to stop. It just means that if they want some extra time, they have afforded themselves that right. They're reserving the right to take an extra 180 days. Now, the initial plan was to have a decision in 180 days. If they were to take another 180 days, that's still only 1 year. You get what I'm saying? So, what does it really mean in the grand scheme of things? Some additional time. 180 days is 6 months. That's not really a big deal. So I don't expect it to really set back the merger much. Maybe it affords them a few extra months, but I think they'll have their decision made by the middle of next year. I expect a decision no later than the end of 2019, which, if you guys have been following the channel, I expect the merger to proceed as it should. I just think that there may be some concessions that they're working on and some more questioning as it pertains to the prepaid side and the Spectrum side. So we'll just have to see what happens. Hank says I should get sponsored by Red Bull. I would love to be sponsored by Red Bull, and they could send me a case every month. That would be great. Yeah, so Dank says, did you give him the prediction for the new iPhone? I think the best-selling iPhone from all three of these, I think the top seller is going to be the iPhone XR. That is the budget one. It's $749. It's got all these different colors. I think that's going to be the best-selling phone, and I'm actually predicting that it may go down as the best-selling iPhone ever, because I think this is the last iPhone they're ever going to make that's going to be less than $1,000. So I think people are going to buy it at a very, very high rate. I think it stands a chance to potentially sell better than the iPhone 6, which is the best-selling iPhone ever. That was the redesign after the iPhone 5S. So I don't know. I think it can possibly do that. It kind of depends on a couple things. I think if Google really drops the ball with their new phones this year, and I think if Android gets kind of stale for the rest of the year with their releases, I think the iPhone XR could stand to be the best-selling smartphone ever produced by Apple. It's definitely going to be the best seller since the 6, though, for sure. Arcelia says, I do my upgrade every 4 years. That's really conservative. So I had no idea that so many of you guys held on to your phones for so long. That's very commendable. That means that you're, not wasteful. You consider things like the environment, your pocket, living a more humble lifestyle. I definitely, I can appreciate that. I feel like sometimes maybe I upgrade too frequently, and I'm trying to become a little bit more conservative and less wasteful myself. So shout out to everybody out there that holds on to their phone as long as they can. Yeah, Akiva, I definitely consider the sponsorships. I think that makes the channel a little bit more dynamic. I think it does a lot for me as a creator. It's definitely something I'll consider for sure. Nintendo 504 says, I might have to get the iPhone XS only because of Band 71. Yeah, so the new iPhones do have Band 71 support. Now, if you're an iPhone person and you like iPhones, it's there for you. The iPhone XR does support Band 71 also. All the new iPhones do. But there's other phones besides iPhones that support Band 71. So you're not restricted just to Apple phones. You could get all of the newer Android flagships have Band 71 support too. So anything coming from Motorola, anything coming from Samsung, anything coming from LG, they'll all have Band 71 support. The Google phones will have it too. Landon says, do you think that the Apple's new processing software on the camera would beat Google software? Actually, Landon, so with respect to the camera technology, It's all about the A12 Bionic chip. They talked about it at a huge, extensive lengths at the launch event. That was like the big thing. It was all about the processor and its neural capabilities and its machine learning and its analysis of photos. And it had all this great things. The still photography is really good. The video photography is supposed to be excellent. That's going to be the highlight of the new phones. The only problem is Google really has a stranglehold on their camera performance. Right now, Google to this moment still has the best performing camera when it comes to, the second gen of the Pixel phones. They've got the best software processing when it comes to image quality on their devices. So I think they'll be competitive. Um, I think they'll be really good. I don't know if it's going to be better. I would expect that probably the selfie camera on the new upcoming Pixels is going to be superior to the Apple selfie cameras, but we'll just have to wait and see. DxO Mark, I'm sure, is going to do some testing, and we'll look at that and see what we get. But you won't know until you try it yourself and you see its performance. Now, everybody's selfie game is about to step up. These phones are going to be really good when it comes to camera tech. So I don't think it matters whether you have a Galaxy, a newer Galaxy, or a newer Google phone, a new LG, or a new iPhone. I think they're all going to have kick butt cameras. We're splitting hairs now at this point. Cameras have gotten really good. The technology is starting to slow down a little bit. It's less innovative because it's harder. We're kind of hitting that cap. So I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed, but I do think the iPhone technology is going to be improved and people are going to love it. Let's see here. Christian says, I see a $2,000 iPhone in the way of the near future, and suckers are going to eat it up like soul food. You know what, Christian? I'm not sure how far away we are from a $2,000 iPhone. I'm not going to say it's not possible. I'm just saying it's not possible soon. What are we talking? 10 years from now, maybe $2,000? I mean, that's double the price. But, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. And I guess it just depends how much people are willing to pay, is how fast it'll get to that point. Nintendo 504 says, I always upgrade every year. You know, a lot of people upgrade every year because they get the new edition of whatever phone they have. So if they like the experience, say you got the iPhone 10, I'm guessing that means you're probably looking at the 10s. But it's really hard now. You have to consider, like, I just paid $1,000 for this phone a year ago. Do I really want to pay another $1,000 for this new one? And there's not that much different. The 10s is going to look exactly like the 10. The only thing that's going to be different is going to be the processor for the most part. I think it's IP68 dust and waterproof resistant over IP67. Is that really worth having to spend and shell out that extra money? I don't know. M. Keller says, I do not like upgrading until it dies. Seems like a waste of time. Yeah. I mean, you could call it a waste of time. I mean, it's just a waste of resources. It's just a waste of money. So as long as you're happy and satisfied with what you've got, maybe you roll with your oldie but moldy. M. Keller says, I'm going to miss Sprint. Oh, man. So I guess we all kind of feel like it's pretty much, a done deal. Sprint's, we feel pretty confident the merger is going to happen without any issues. Mark Garcia says, a man with an integrity. Most YouTubers will take any sponsors they could get. You know what, Mark? I have to say, it's tempting, right? I mean, if T-Mobile was to send me an email and send me an offer and say, hey, we're willing to sponsor your channel. We're going to slap our videos to run ads in front of yours. We want you to, whenever we drop this product or promo, we want you to blast it, say how great it is. That defeats the purpose of the channel. I'm here to question what they do. I'm here to analyze what they do and to be objective. If I start taking sponsorships from carriers, if I start taking sponsorships from smartphone manufacturers, not that they care about my little channel, but if that was to come my way, I have to consider that. I should probably consider changing the objective of my channel, right? I should become a promotional channel. But I am an analytical channel. I'm a channel that questions carriers. I'm a channel that, says when they do things right and definitely says when they do things wrong and when they are not exercising good judgment. So that's what I do, and I have to consider that if I'm going to do this the right way. Arcelia says, I consider my kidneys. That's going to be a good running joke for a while. I love it. Yeah, please consider your kidneys. iPhones are not worth your kidneys. So, public service announcement, if you have two good kidneys, keep them. The iPhone is not worth it. I don't care if it's a $1,200 iPhone. Keep your kidneys. Nintendo 504 says, so eSIM will be able to use my S9 Plus SIM in the new phone? Yeah. Yep. And actually, there is one hitch with the eSIMs with the new iPhones. It's not ready yet. It actually needs a software update. So I was just reading about that earlier today. If any of you have pre-ordered the new iPhones, you will not be able to use an eSIM until the next update, software update that comes to the phone. So hang tight. It is eSIM capable. We're expecting to see that shortly in the form of a software update. So I'm guessing it'll come in over the air within a month or two. Nintendo 504 says, I've never had an iPhone, so I think I'll try it out to see how I like it. Yeah, you might like it. iPhones and Androids are so different in the two big areas. They're different in hardware, they're different in software. A lot of people that like their iPhones always say they're simple. They always say they just work, right? Everything is good. I'd say that's a pretty fair assessment. I've never had issues and complexity with Android, so I've never understood that. I think those people just don't understand Android because they've never used an Android for any extended period of time. So again, it's just what people have inherited as what they expect as, an experience. That's what they feel is normal to them. Oh, I only have one thumbs up in this video. What's up with that, guys? Go ahead and hit the like button. Let's go. I need more than one. Seriously, come on now. It's Friday. Give me some thumbs up here. M. Keller says, I upgraded recently to the S8 from the Note 4. I would still have it if it wasn't half off. Oh, man. So you got a good deal on the S8 and it made you upgrade? The Note 4 was a legendary phone. People speak so highly of the Note 4 even till this day. I still see them. Occasionally you'll see somebody with a Note 4. You've got the removable battery. It was a great camera for its time. It was a huge, beautiful OLED panel. That was a great phone. A lot of people still have them as a secondary device even. Darian says, what phone you got? I have the Google Pixel 2 XL. And I have a Moto Z2 Play. It's my secondary. M. Keller says, 6 months ago I got the S8 for $400 off from the $750. It's a good deal. That is a really good deal. Oh, you know somebody, M. Kelleher, with an S3. I've seen an S4 recently. I feel like POTUS, Don Trump, I feel like he has an S3 or an S4. He does all of his tweeting and stuff from that thing, which is kind of ironic. Oh, speaking of which, Joel's in the house. Sneed for president. Put me on the ballot for the next one. Arcelia says, what is an eSIM? So eSIMs is a technology that Apple actually has used in the past. It was in the third generation of the Apple Watch. So essentially it gives you a network using an electronic SIM. You don't actually need a physical SIM card in your SIM tray to be connected. So activation happens through a database and it happens over the air. So you don't need to do activations in the store and getting a SIM card, or even, dealing with a company and having them send you a SIM card in the mail, which is kind of nice. You don't need to open your SIM tray and do it, right? So it's coming built into the hardware. It's ready to go. It is a nice feature. As of right now, though, only 3 carriers are supporting eSIM. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Sprint is not supporting eSIM. So you are restricted to the 3 out of the 4 carriers. DGAF says, speaking of updates, carriers and manufacturers need to hurry up with software updates. Yeah, I'd say so. That's been one of the issues. Only with Android, though. That's only an Android problem. Apple customers don't complain about software updates. I mean, the iPhone 6 has iOS 12, from what I believe. Now, if you think back to what, the iPhone 6 was released with, I don't know what the operating system was, but something tells me it's received at least 4 or 5 major update system in terms of over-the-air software. You're lucky to get 2 updates, major updates with Android. Like, pretty much, Apple, they're the best when it comes to software support. For Google, it's the Google phones, when it comes to Android. Samsung does a good job of updating with security updates, but they don't do a good job with software updates, with OS. So, yeah, it's always been a huge problem, and it's one of the frustrating things. Mark Garcia says, my company issued phone is a Note 3, and I can upgrade, but I choose to keep using it. I dig it, Mark. As long as it's working for you. What I would want to know though is how's that battery though? Like, if you're using a Note 3, you're going back like 4 generations or so, 5 now. So that's an older phone. How's the battery holding up? Or maybe you replaced or got a spare battery for it. All right, that's more like it. I got 6 likes. Thank you guys. Let's see here. Any other phones have an eSIM other than Apple? I believe the Google phones are going to be doing eSIMs as well. It's a nice little perk. Some carriers are really gun shy about the eSIMs because with eSIM compatibility, you can take your phone to any network. You're not locked down to having to go into stores and being SIM locked and stuff like that. So they're not too happy about it, but they have no choice because once the Apple iPhone does eSIM, that opens the floodgates. That means so many other manufacturers are going to be using eSIMs and the carriers have to respond to it. Are you going to tell Apple, no, don't provide eSIMs, we don't want it? Of course not. That's the best-selling phone in the U.S. So U.S. carriers are just going to have to roll with the punches and take it on the chin. I know, I got some likes. Finally, you guys hooked it up. I got 8 likes. Good looking out on that, y'all. Anybody just joining the live chat, we've been in for about 47 minutes. We've talked about the new iPhones. We've talked about some merger news. With a little bit of an extension for the merger review process. If there's anything else you guys want to cover, I'm fair game. I'm good for another 15 to 20 minutes, and I think I'll be done after that. So if you guys have anything you want to cover, anything you want to ask or talk about, make sure you get it in quickly here. Yeah, Mark, so in your Note 3, you said that you've replaced the batteries twice, and it runs flawlessly. Wow, that's pretty impressive. I'm guessing it's probably running a Snapdragon 801 maybe, or Snapdragon 800, unless you have one of the older variants that was pushing the in-house Samsung Exynos chips. I'm not even sure if they were making it back then. You know what, Arcelia? I would bet that Samsung's going to have the eSIM in their next generation S10. So the S10, the Note 10, the S10 Plus, I think they'll have the eSIM. They'll be adjusting and responding to the market. Once Apple does something, everybody starts responding. You saw what happened with the notches and displays and design. Everybody's making iPhone 10 clones now. Yeah, Nintendo 504 says, my brother has my old Note 4 running from Verizon. Verizon killed it, huh? Wow. That's pretty disappointing. So, Mark, you said you've got the Note 3 still running, and it's running the 800 chip. How is that processor holding up? How's that camera? How's the everyday usage? I'd like to know because that's an older phone. What's the release date on the Note 3? I feel like that would be like 2013 maybe? Man, it's been a while, so I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys estimated production date on that phone. It might even be 2012, maybe 13. All right, so I'm pretty much caught up in the live chat. I don't think there's anything else I gotta. Oh, yeah, that's true, Arcelia. Good point. Arcelia says with the eSIM, there's no activation charge. Now, they can't say we have to charge you an activation fee because there's cost built in with the SIM card. But they could still charge an activation fee. But one could argue, and this could be brought to the attention of the carriers, because it's eSIM. Why are you charging me activation? That's definitely a bargaining chip, and I like that idea. I'm glad you brought that up, Arcelia. So, yeah, it's true. They wouldn't have to necessarily charge for activation because eSIM activation is seamless and it doesn't involve any hardware. Joel says, my Samsung went out on me last Friday. I went and bought the iPhone SE because it was cheap and fast for the moment, and then boom, they get cut off. Yeah, so the SE is not getting produced anymore. The iPhone SE is the last of a dying breed, guys. If you want, a small phone, a compact phone, maybe you're the type of person, you've either got small hands or you like to use your phone with one hand, The SE was really your only option. All phones have gotten huge. People want big displays, big display panels, big screens. So that was really your only option. At this point, you're probably looking for one refurbished. You're probably looking for one maybe on eBay or something, lightly used. That's pretty much it for the SE. So RIP iPhone SE, RIP iPhone 6s. I can't believe they're still making that phone. Like there's actually production going on. So as of right now, the only thing left in production for the iPhones is the iPhone 7, the iPhone 7 Plus, the 8, the 8 Plus. The 10 has been discontinued, so now it's going to be the focus of the 10s, the 10s Max, and the 10R. So rest in peace iPhone 10, rest in peace iPhone SE, rest in peace iPhone 6s. Nintendo 504 asks, Sneed, do you remember when Verizon was doing SIM locks? Well, my old Note 4 stopped working. I really think they killed it. So, Nintendo 504, you can't get your SIM card to read LTE on your phone? I'm guessing that's what you're talking about here. And Arcelia says, good luck with making that case to the carriers. You know, but I'll tell you what, you could say anything to the carriers. You could say, look, I can go to any carrier. This is a eSIM capable phone. I'll go to this carrier. They're not charging me an activation fee. Do you want my business or not? And then make sure you're able to follow through on it. Legitimately be ready to leave a carrier if they're trying to charge you an additional 35 or 50 bucks to activate a line. If you've been with your carrier, why should they be charging you activation fee? It doesn't make any sense. Now, if you're a new customer, use that ploy. Say, hey, I can go to any carrier I want. They're willing to waive the activation fee. I've got this eSIM capable phone. I don't need to pay this activation fee. If you're going to charge me activation, I'm taking my business elsewhere. I say use that ploy. Use that to your advantage. You'll save yourself 35, 40, 50 bucks. Who knows? Let's see here. Christian says, do you think we'll see a 7-inch iPhone? My roommates hate the idea of a small phones going away. A lot of people, Christian, still like smaller compact devices. Now, you can have a smaller compact device and still have a big screen. You've just got to push those big bezels out of the way and, you know, get it edge to edge. So I would have loved to seen an iPhone SE sized iPhone that used the new design language with the edge to edge display. You probably could have gotten the display to be about 5 inches, which is a great display size for a compact phone. So I think they missed their chance to capitalize on the compact smartphone market. I think they feel just so many people are okay with larger phones and not enough people want the compact phones. So Nintendo 504, the phone just like turned off and it won't come back on. It's really strange. I mean, if it's not a battery issue, then something's going on for sure. Let's see here. As a truck driver, this is from Joel. As a truck driver, the SE is real convenient, and then on downtime, whip out the iPad. Actually, that's probably like the best way to use technology. Is smartphones should be compact. Smartphones should be small and handheld. I think Steve Jobs had the idea right. The only problem is smartphones became more than just a smartphone. They became our primary computing devices, and they became our primary media consumption devices. And when you're using your phone as a primary media consumption device, the screen has to be bigger. That's why we saw Apple go from the 4-inch 5S to the 4.7-inch 6S 7. And then with the 6 Plus, they offered the 5.5-inch display. And now Apple even makes a 6.5-inch in the 10s Max. So I mean, all of this is crazy. I know it seems crazy that we have smartphones with 6.5-inch displays, but for somebody who only is going to have that device as their media consumption device, it makes sense that the display is larger. But in the ideal world, you've got a small phone and then like a tablet or an iPad or some other larger screen device. Mark Garcia says, I always thought the 4.7-inch screen was a good compromise like my LG Volt. So I didn't like the 4.7-inch display on the phone's actual footprint. I always thought that if we could shrink the bezels, we could easily get the screen size to like 5 inches, which I thought 5 inches was a much better option. I think actually the best display size for a phone is probably 5.5, for 5.3 to 5.5 inch. But it's got to be like a bezel-less display. It's got to be one of those infinity displays, edge to edge. Get rid of the bezels, shrink them as much as you can, keep the front firing speakers, but really push the issue with the bezels. Get those out of there and get them out of the way. But that's just me. I have the Pixel 2 XL, so my display size is about 6 inches. The phone's large, but it's not unbearable. It's difficult to manage. I have very, very average size hands. I mean, I'm only 5'7". I'm no giant. If my hands were a little bit bigger or I was more comfortable using two hands for my computing on the device, I guess it wouldn't be an issue. But I just kind of deal with it. I play those thumb gymnastics. I just kind of cope with the larger size on the screen. And yeah, I mean, it would be nicer if it was a little bit more compact, but I've gotten used to it. And I think a lot of people, that's the thing. They're willing to trade off the footprint of the phone to get the larger display size and a larger battery and stuff like that. Arcelia says the iPad's going to be as big as my flat screen TV. I don't think it'll ever be that big. I mean, iPads have been pretty steady with their display sizes. I mean, what have we seen? We've seen mini iPads with screen sizes around 8 inches, 9 inches. We've seen the full-size iPads go up to, I think, the 11. Has there ever been a 13-inch iPad? I feel like the Pro, maybe, iPad Pro. So we have seen some larger iPads. I guess it depends what you use it for. If you buy the Bluetooth attached keyboard, I guess having the larger screen iPad makes sense. Yeah, it'd be the iPad Pro. So that makes sense because then it becomes more of a two-in-one. It becomes more of a computing device. You wouldn't necessarily have to own a laptop if you had an iPad Pro with the keyboard. So, I like what Apple does. Their portfolio of products is excellent. They offer something for everyone. The toughest thing to swallow when it comes to Apple is just pricing. The customer experience is good. The user experience is good. The software is great. The hardware is good. They're valuable, the products. They're worth something when you're done with them. So, Apple's thing, their portfolio is great. It's just always been pricing. Ooh, a little bit of throwback hour here. Mark Garcia says the display on the Sharp Aqueous was good. I remember that phone. It had like no bezel at the top, so it was like the edge of the screen went all the way up there, and then it was like a chin at the bottom, so it had had all the sensors. It had the front-facing camera and the ambient light sensor and stuff like that. That was actually a good way to go. If you put no bezel at the top and then just a small bezel at the bottom, that would be awesome. I would roll with that. I wish that Google would incorporate some type of new design language like that, but every company just has their heart set on copying Apple, and it's so frustrating. Apple does great things, but Apple's ways are not the only way to have a successful product. You don't have to make an iPhone clone to sell a phone. I think people are looking for something different. Not everybody wants an iPhone. So what makes these Android manufacturers think, I want an iPhone lookalike? It's not just the prices that people don't like Apple for, but maybe they don't like the build. Maybe they don't like that they're so delicate. Maybe they don't like the design. They want something different. I think Android manufacturers should steer away from copying Apple and work on their own designs, work on their own innovation, and not worry so much about what Apple is doing. Whenever you're concerned about what another company is doing is where you're going to fail, because you're always playing catch up. You're always copying them. There's no innovation. Nobody's going to be following your footsteps. You want to be a trailblazer, and that's what separates the great companies from, the haphazard ones. Mark says, I have zero interest in a foldable screen, in response to Arcelia mentioning foldable screen technology. Now, I will say that while foldable screens don't interest me directly, I feel like the innovative technology does interest me. I definitely will report on it. I would investigate it. I don't know if it's for me, but foldable screen shows that a company is willing to do something different and step out of the box and offer a new kind of product. I mean, who knows? I remember when people were making fun of smartphones. Oh, I don't need a phone that surfs the internet. I mean, look at how we use our smartphones now. I don't need a phone that has a camera. I mean, people were legitimately saying these things before. So before we go judging technology that isn't out yet. Let's see how it plays out. Foldable screens could be something important. It could be something useful. I mean, imagine taking out a phone that is as compact as your hand, so like that big, and then you unfold it and it's that big, and you're able to view something of a 10-inch display, but it takes the footprint when it's compacted and folded as a 5-inch display. I think that has potential. So they're sinking millions and millions of dollars into that technology. Let them innovate. You never know what they'll make for us. Chanel 808, Life Hawaii. Some people knowing that the OnePlus 6T is coming to T-Mobile will wait for that. The 6T is definitely coming to T-Mobile. They're going to carry that in stores. They're going to sell it online. That should be a great device, should be powerful. I'm hearing there's going to be a slight design change. They're going to go away from the big notch on the top to a smaller teardrop pimple type of notch. That'll be a very welcomed thing. Also, I'm hearing it might have an in-display fingerprint scanner, which is cool but concerns me in durability and functionality. So we'll have to see, but it definitely is coming to T-Mobile in the fall. So we'll be excited. I'll definitely report on that. And to follow up, Chanel 808 says it will also have Band 71. Of course, it will have Band 71. If it's going to be a T-Mobile exclusive to carriers, it'll have Band 71. In fact, they may even refer to the OnePlus 6T that's sold through T-Mobile. They might call it like the Uncarrier Edition or the Pink Edition or Magenta Edition, I should say. That would be pretty cool. They could offer like a unique casing or back color. That would be pretty sweet. Me personally, I like the OnePlus company. I like their product. I think they offer a good bargain for a flagship price. But yeah, that's it. And actually, I wonder what they're going to sell it for. I wonder if the T-Mobile OnePlus 6T variant will be the same cost as the unlocked, factory version of the OnePlus 6T. I would hope that T-Mobile's variant would be the same. I would hate to see a price variation. But, I mean, who knows? I mean, if they both support Band 71 and OnePlus was selling it for less money, why would anybody want to buy it from the carrier? Unless they were trying to get it at a subsidized price, maybe with a trade-in or something like that. All right, so I'm all caught up in the live chat. I see you guys are still in here. We've been in for about an hour. In fact, 1 hour and 3 minutes. I'm going to give you guys probably another 5-10 minutes. I mean, the conversation is good, so I'll give you guys some more time. Make sure that if you have something you want to ask or talk about, get it in here in the next few minutes. I'll try to get to everything, and then we'll kind of close things off and give you guys a preview of what's coming up for this week. Christian says, now which band is the 700 megahertz band? 700 megahertz band as it pertains to T-Mobile, are you asking? It says T-Mobile here in Lubbock has it, but not the 600 megahertz band just yet, according to them. So the mid-band that you're talking about is pretty much a capacity band. From the last time I checked, I think band 66 is an extension of band 4. It's a capacity band. It's usually found in areas where there's some congestion, where the network has a lot of users. Yeah, I don't know when your region in particular will receive band 71 support. The band 71 is usually for areas that are very expansive, where T-Mobile doesn't have a lot of tower congestion, or I should say tower saturation. So those areas are getting the much needed band 71 support first. But just so you guys know, Band 71 and Band 66, that's being rolled out at a pretty similar level. Like, they're kind of pushing out those upgrades to those sites at a similar rate. So it's not that Band 71 is more important than Band 66. They're both pretty important, because they're finding out, T-Mobile, that with their growth, their network has become bogged down in certain places. Tito says, I agree 100%. Other companies need to be different instead of copying Apple. Apple's not the only way to manufacture phones. Companies need to be unique. Man, I remember when Motorola made the best phones, and Motorola was leading the way. iPhones were not even around. iPhones were just a figment of Steve Jobs' imagination. Motorola was killing it. Their innovation, their technologies, their trailblazing characteristics, their approach to business. I mean, they were killing the game. Motorola was an amazing company. And when Motorola started to do poorly, it's when they became followers. And other companies were changing the way they were making smartphones, and Motorola just didn't keep up. And the same thing happened with LG. Their problem wasn't they couldn't make a good phone, their problem was they couldn't market their phones like Apple is able to market their phones. So you can take a page out of Apple's book, right? You could take a page out of their business approach, but you can't build iPhone clones and expect to sell them. People, if they want an iPhone, they will buy an iPhone. They don't want an Android version of the iPhone. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants an LG made iPhone. Nobody wants a Motorola made iPhone. They'll want an Apple iPhone if they want that. So it's kind of laughable to see how many iPhone clones there are. To put it bluntly, I'm just kind of sick of it. Like, I see all these Chinese manufacturers making iPhone lookalikes. I don't even consider them as options. I want nothing to do with a phone that looks like an iPhone unless it's an iPhone. You get what I'm saying? So that's my point, and that's kind of a rant, but sheesh, man, like, building an iPhone clone is not the way to do business. You got to do something different, and it's the only way that customers are going to get better products. So yeah, I feel the same way as you, Tito. That's kind of my take on it. All right, so my goal was to be in here for at least an hour. I think I got to pretty much everybody's comments. I got to everybody's questions. Up and coming this week on YouTube, we've got a couple of things that are coming out now. We do have the Google event, so I'll see if any other leaks or rumors, anything's coming out about the Google phones. So you might see that this week. Also, there's some carrier news that's going to be coming out. I've got 2 videos for sure coming on the YouTube side with the Sneed Mobile Tech channel. If you're a patron, I want to give you a shout out. So all the guys there that are supporting me on Patreon, I encourage you guys as well, if you're not a patron, to check out the Patreon page. It really is a nice thing that we've got going there. We've got panels and polls. We have unique videos. They're exclusive content that doesn't make its way onto YouTube. It's a much more inclusive, it's a much more detailed and technical angle to a lot of the videos that I make on YouTube. So if you're looking for something more, a little bit more technical, a little bit more in depth, I think you'll really enjoy the Sneed Mobile Tech Patreon page. So check it out. I'll put the link in the description for this video, and support there. You know, it's directly to the creator. So much appreciated for those considerations. So a lot of action on Patreon this week. So I'm excited to do that. Other than that, I think I'll let you guys go. I hope you guys have a great weekend. It is Friday, so enjoy the night. Also, I think I might be bringing back the podcast, but I'll be doing that on the Patreon page. So if you're interested in the podcast I used to do, I'll be offering that there. I'm also going to be introducing a new live stream for patrons only. So if you like the live stream offer here, I'll be doing a 1-hour live stream during the middle of the week on the Sneed Mobile Tech Patreon page. So if that interests you, go ahead and check that out. I'll put the links in the description below. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for participating. Thank you all for chatting in the live chat. Thank you for being here and watching and hitting the like button. Thank you to all my subscribers here. Thank you to all my patrons on the Patreon channel. Much appreciated. I think I'm going to keep it at that. It's been a great time. Thank you all again for your interactions in the comment section. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your participation. You guys really are the best part of the channel. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.